It's your favorite crew of internet idiots back with another Gktech How To. This time we're tackling our new Z34 370z, V36, and G37 Rear Toe Arms. Woo. These bad units will allow and require you to run a true rear coilover, so keep that in mind. More on that later. Getting past the fact that Zach shimmies boxes like no other, we are presented with the sweet, sweet goodness that lies therein. The first things you may notice are the dust boots, which have been conveniently supplied for use or not. It's up to you, and that reason being is that the bearings are PTFE lined, so you don't need to run them, but they're there for you. Next up on the list are the 4 small inserts that get fitted into the rose joints. These obviously help locate the hardware in the correct spot on the bolts. And lastly on the list of things that are important are the arms themselves, which happen to be supplied with our high misalignment rose joints and are made out of 6061 T6 aluminum, plus come with a super duper convenient hex shape for maximum tool optionage. As with all of our other arms, these have a max safe adjustment, so let's have a heart-to-heart about that, okay? We recommend starting at that max safe adjustment and winding inwards towards the perfect settings you so crave, meaning in this particular case, you should be starting at 480 millimeters from center hole to center hole, that being made up of 88 millimeters for the clevis side and 69 millimeters for the rose joint side, both being measured from center hole to the lock nut stop on the aluminum arm. Winding these suckers down to OEM length, which is what we recommend starting at, will allow you to drive to the alignment rack without crab walking all over the place. This is going to come in at 450 millimeters center hole to center hole, again made up of 74 millimeters and 53 millimeters respectively, being measured the same way as before. Or you could take the super uncomfortable and awkward Robin Hood hat that Nissan supplied you and line it up and get it as close to possible, running a pretend line from bolt hole to bolt hole and get the same measurement that way. Hitting that minimum, we're stuck with the number 430, which seems to be 10 off in my humble opinion, that being measured center hole to center hole. Using science, we're left with 20 millimeters of inward adjustment when comparing to OEM and 30 millimeters of outward adjustment compared to the same, leaving you with more toe than the gnarliest of camels. Now that you've been properly knowledged, let's install these, shall we? Grab your favorite tools and bust off the outer nut and bolt, but be warned, the OEM sandcastle maker may be spring loaded, so just take care with removing that, will ya? Head inside, remove the inner nut and bolt as well, letting the arm swing free for the last time ever, and remove the hardware and arm itself. Heading over to the bench, we're going to compare the two, and you may have questions, such as, why would this be a good salad serving bowl? And I don't see any way to properly serve guest salad from the Gktech arm, guys. What gives? Well, little Jimmy, let me explain. The OEM arm, aka the worst shovel I've ever used, is bulky, ugly, and to top it off, you can't run a true coilover like the JDM boss that you are. Meaning, if you get these arms, you must use a true coilover. And yes, that's the one that doesn't have the spring hanging out next to it all willy-nilly, but together as one like Jesus intended. So just keep that in mind whilst eyeballing these sick arms for purchase. Enough about that, let's get to install. Start with the inside and get the arm with the inserts up into the subframe. In this case, we've removed the OEM eccentric bolts and are installing our lockout kit, which doesn't come with the arms but can be purchased separately, hint hint. Pop the bolt through, install the washer and nut, tighten down, then head to the nut. Slap the clevis on the clevis holder and install the bolt, then nut, and tighten and torque down to the settings being displayed on your monitor. And this is where you're going to want to make sure the bearing is running centrally and not cocked to the left or right to prevent bindage. Now once the bearing is straight, slap a wrench on the hexagonally shaped shape and go ahead and tighten down both locking nuts. Head back inside and tighten, then torque to these settings shown here as well. Wow, that's it. Enjoy all that toe that would make any camel jelly. These are guys on the internet doing internet things, rarely driving, but hey, at least they're being somewhat productive on the interwebs. And besides, they try not to get caught on that side of YouTube. You know the side I'm talking about. Yeah, that one. Anyway, go sub to these morons, and you may or may not end up on that side of the internet. If you cannot install these, please reach out to a shop and have them do it, pay, and leave happy. If you have any questions, this is an email address. Please use it. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, and don't ask me about my secret spot, Zach, with another how-to. Peace.